Hi, you're watching Hindustan Times. I'm Aditi Prasad. Ramdev, the self-styled yoga guru, has once again sparked a controversy after a video of him claiming allopathy as a stupid science went viral. Now, in this video, he not only trashed allopathy medicines, but also suggested that people are dying from these medicines during the pandemic. Now, Ramdev has a massive following, and what he says matters because millions listen to him and follow him. Now, his comments triggered strong protests with the Indian Medical Association, demanding that we register a case against him under the Epidemics Act. After this, he withdrew the remarks. Ramdev withdrew his remarks, but not before a nudge from the Union Health Minister, Dr. Vardhan. Now, Patanjali even issued a full statement saying that he was misquoted, he was reading from a WhatsApp forward, but healthcare workers who have been on the front lines for more than a year are not convinced by this apology and withdrawal of remarks. Because what Ramdev said is not just ill-timed because the nation is in the middle of a once-in-a-century pandemic, but also because it insults our frontline healthcare workers who have been fighting this uphill battle, and many have even lost their lives while saving others. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Vinay Agarwal of the Indian Medical Association, which is demanding that Ramdev be booked under the Epidemic Act. We're going to ask him if they still think he should be booked after the withdrawal of comments. Dr. Manish Jangra of Pharma Doctors Association, who feels that Ramdev's comments are an insult to the frontline COVID warriors and wants him booked. Dr. Kamna Kakkar, a young doctor from PGIMS Rohtak last year during the first wave. She was among the first doctors to have tweeted that frontline workers were not being provided with N95 masks and gloves by the authorities. We will also have with us shortly Dr. V.D. Tembudinikar of the National Integrated Medical Association. He represents Ayurveda doctors, and the organization has been demanding that Ayurveda doctors be allowed to treat mild and moderate COVID patients. We will understand from him whether he agrees with Ramdev's stance. And we have with us communications consultant Dilip Cherian. I want to start with you, Dr. Vinay, and my question is very simple. The IMA had asked again for action against Baba Ramdev under the Epidemic Act for endangering the life of many people by giving unscientific advice to his followers. Now he has withdrawn that comment. Will the IMA also backtrack from its demand?
See, Aditi, it's very unfortunate what Baba Ramdev said. And he is a repeat offender. He has said it many times in the past also. Now, this time at a juncture when the country is passing through practically a medical emergency, the healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, and Safai Karamchari and all of them are working day and night to see that they can save patients' lives. And at that time, at this juncture, a person like Ramdev is speaking, I will use the word stupid, and talking like sentences which he used. And it was not the WhatsApp messages, Aditi. If you see his entire statement, it was not a WhatsApp messages. He went ahead to say that their Fabiflu failed, their steroids failed, their Remdesivir failed, their plasma therapy banned. What they have, it's a stupid science, he said. And he said that the number of patients who have died at home without oxygen, much more than in numbers of lakhs of patients have died because of their medicines. And this allopathy killed so many patients, and he numbered them lakhs and lakhs of them. You just imagine at a time when 1,300 of our doctors have sacrificed their life, 450 approximately died in the second wave. First wave, about 800 doctors have died. At this stage, a person, a so-called responsible person, very close to the politicians today, running the government, a person coming out and giving a long statement of this kind in front of a gathering with his all lieutenants sitting on the desk, it speaks very, very, very bad about him. And I'm sure, when we wrote to Dr. Harshvardhan did write, and we were satisfied with his letter to Dr. Baba Ramdev. But Baba Ramdev's reply is not satisfactory. Taking back the sentences will heal the injuries which he has caused. he has a following, you rightly said, crores and crores of persons, and his sentences have gone so bad, and it has hurt the sentiments and feelings of almost about 20 lakh healthcare workers, 5 lakh doctors who are fighting this at a time when we are going to the villages. We are looking after the healthcare issues of the villages. Countries fighting issues like vaccination. Countries fighting issues like oxygen supply. Countries fighting issues like remdesivir supply. Countries fighting antifungal treatment. At a time, he's criticizing. He's making joke of all those things and saying that use my medicine. Use Ayurveda. Use my medicine. He is not a Baba. He is not a guru. He is a commercial thug. I will use such a strong word. And who is for his commercial gains. He is utilizing his popularity in yoga. We respect him as far as yoga going to globally is concerned, but his interest in business interest is promoting a drug like Coronil and others, which has you know that how the drug Coronil was launched, and that he claimed so many things, WHO certified and others. Then he took it back. He said it is a treatment. Then he said it is a immuno. It creates immunity in the body. Now those kind of claims which Ramdev is repeatedly saying, we feel sad about it. It is deplorable. And Indian Medical Association has expressed the anguish and anger on behalf of the medical profession, 5 lakh of its members, and at least 20 lakh of healthcare workers who have been pained, who have been hurt by sentences. I'm sure Dr. Honorable Health Minister saying that he is happy that Ramdev has withdrawn his statement. And I want to tell the Honorable Health Minister, Indian Medical Association is not happy. We are going to take it to the logical conclusion. We are going legally. We are our branches and our individual members and all over the country. We are filing police complaint, and we want a proper action to be taken under the Epidemic Act. You just imagine some strange person putting posters against the Prime Minister in some village or somewhere is arrested under the Epidemic Act, and the person who is utilizing his fame and to criticize the entire science of allopathy is the one who can just go away with retreating his statement. I feel so sorry about it. And I personally feel, as an Indian Medical Association activist, I personally feel with folded hands to the government of the day, not go into your relations with this man. Please gain the confidence of the healthcare workers who are with you as a frontline worker, sacrificing their life, becoming martyrs. They worked at a time when they have no protective kits. They are working even today when you are not supplying oxygen. They are working when drugs are not there. They are fighting. They are not thinking of their lives, not their families. And a strange person comes who is close to you and comes and says science is useless. So this is a kind of a
very. You've touched upon a number of things, sir. And I am going to come back to you, and we're going to take one by one. We're going to take a number of things that you've said. But what I'm going to request you to do, if you can remove your headsets, and because there is a certain crackling sound which is coming in, if you can connect via a normal your laptop audio speakers should be fine. And if you can do that, we'll come back to you in just a bit. But I want to go to Dr. Kamna Kakkad. Dr. Vinay Agarwal has said something very emphatic. He's of course called Ramdev a thug directly, and he has made a very strong comment that he has heard the sentiments of lakhs of doctors, millions of doctors who are on the front lines of COVID duty. Now, Dr. Kamna Kakkad, I read your piece on Twitter, a couple of days ago, saying that despite Ramdev's clarification, the damage has been done. As a frontline worker, what is the blowback you are facing in your COVID wards due to Ramdev's comments? And I will play, but before you tell me that, I'm going to request my producers to play out that comment of Ramdev's, which is causing so much.
गजब का तमाशा है। एलोपैथी एक ऐसी स्टूपिड और दिवालिया साइंस है कि पहले क्लोरोक्विन फेल हुई, फिर रेमडेसिविर फेल हो गई, फिर एंटीबायोटिक्स इनके फेल हो गए, फिर स्टेरॉइड इनके फेल हो गए, प्लाज्मा थेरापी के ऊपर भी कल बैन लग गया, और इवर मार्कटिन भी फेल हो गया.
So you see, that was Baba Ramdev, the self-styled guru, who was talking about, that he was obviously reading from his phone, but the clarification is that he was reading from a WhatsApp forward. But I want to talk to you, Dr. Kakkar, about what your sense is. What do you face? Do you see the blowback of this in your COVID wards?
Absolutely, ma'am. The day Coronel was released, I think it was hyped as a cure for COVID. It was hyped as something that was approved by WHO. And, masses, when they're in a panic mode, they receive these advertisements, these videos, which claim that it was a sure shot cure for COVID. And this is the message that the public received, that okay, this is a cure. But later on they backtracked their statements. Later on they took, they apologized, they said no, it's not so. And even now again they are back with the same tricks, saying things like allopathy is stupid, allopathy is Diwaliya science. This has reached the public in an unprecedented manner, because through WhatsApp videos, through he has a giant fan following among the rural masses. And when you know that you have a following among people at large, you can say things and and influence them to no extent. So right now when I'm treating my patients, they ask me to put Coronel on top of the chart. They ask me if I can start Ayurvedic kadas, if I can go ahead with things that Ramdev suggests. And I am not an Ayurvedic doctor, I am an allopathic doctor, and I suggest things which are into the guidelines, which are according to guidelines. So if I'm telling them to start steroids, if I suggest them that you need to start this certain drug, they get aggressive, because Ramdev said so and so drug has failed. So they're aggressive. They say, please don't start this drug, Doctor Sahab, because Ramdev Baba ne kaha hai, you don't have to. So it's really hard, at the front line. You have to, we're already short of staff, and we have limited time for each patient. And if I have to convince each patient that okay, steroids work, if I have to explain them each and every drug that I start, it takes up so much of my time and energy that I don't have time for other important things. So Ramdev has to just think once that a patient with liver disease, a patient with kidney disease, a patient with heart disease, you can't just treat them with one drug and say okay, this is an umbrella drug for all conditions. You can't just claim that.
All right, fair enough. You can't just claim that. And let me come back. Let me come to you, Dr. Manish Jangra. You represent the Federation of Young Doctors. You heard Dr. Vinay Agarwal, the Federation, Indian Medical Association. He's representing obviously all the senior doctors. Why you also, when I spoke to earlier, you were asking for Ramdev's prosecution under the Epidemic Act. Do you think that this government will take the action against Ramdev that you're asking under the Epidemic Act? And what is the action that you're asking for? Dr. Vinay Agarwal also suggested that they're going to ask for the harshest possible action against Ramdev because of these comments that he's making, and irrespective of the fact that he's withdrawn his comments now. But what is the action that you're seeking, and do you think that is going to be forthcoming from this government? You'll have to unmute. Yeah, please. No, you are unmuted now. Please carry on speaking.
Okay. First thing I would like to tell everyone that you must be knowing that few days ago on the platform of WHO, the Dr. Vardhan and Nitin Gadkari launched his medicine Coronel. And the first thing, this was the only thing that make us very sad ki our health minister and the Nitin Gadkari is our transport minister. Both are engaged in such type of activities which are promoting the Coronel tablet, which was discouraged by the DGCI and other our approving ministries also. And one more thing I would like to say that we demand the strict action from our government. We, from behalf of the FEMA, we also sent some legal notice to the Baba Ramdev, and our health minister Dr. Vardhan also sent some notice to the Baba Ramdev, but we are not satisfied with that notice sent by the.
नहीं, आप क्या action चाहते हैं? आप क्या action चाहते हैं?
want that government should book Baba Ramdev under Epidemic Act and the Disaster Management Act under Indian Penal Code. We want that Baba Ramdev should be booked under this act, and he must be in because he is promoting such type of misinformation among our general public, and this is very bad. You must also know this thing that he have many followers, and if he says something like this, most of the followers will be following him. Like people will not go for oxygen, people will not go for medications, and people will die at homes only. So this is very bad thing, and he must be booked under this Epidemic Act, and we would be filing a case against him. Today we talked to our lawyers also, and we are just preparing a
Dilip, let me come to you. Making such statements, dissuades people from actually, many people will be dissuaded from actually going in for medical care when they actually do need it because of some comorbidity or the other, or the severity of the infection is very high. They will not go to the hospital. They will try things at home, leading to a further their health going south. Should the government not be taking action? Should we merely be satisfied by him withdrawing his remark? And by him I mean Baba Ramdev. What are the optics around here?
There are three things to remember. The first is that referring to him as Baba Ramdev itself is a dangerous thing. He is actually a businessman wearing saffron. He is hustling a product, and he is a salesman who is trying to affect the lives of his potential customers. That's one. The second thing is, what bothers me is that if you see the difference in tone between Dr. Harshvardhan's reaction to Dr. Manmohan Singh's letter and Dr. Harshvardhan's response to Baba Ramdev or Mr. Ramdev or whatever, the fact is that while he is harsh with a former prime minister of the country, he is almost pleading like someone who is in the court of somebody for Ramdev to withdraw his statements. That's the second thing. The image that is conveying is that the health minister of the country is a supplicant, is actually pleading, and that is not a good image for a health minister. The third thing, I think the IMA is being far too soft and gentle. I think that the call to take him to task under the Epidemic Act as well as the Disaster Act is the correct thing, and they need to do this not because the questions are being raised on allopathy, but because of what Ramdev is trying to do in terms of marketing his product during a time of crisis. That is the biggest danger, that we will lose more lives because ignorant people who, would you go to your piano teacher if you wanted to book a ticket to Ranchi, for example, or to Rourkela? No, you would not. So why would you go to a yoga master when you want to be cured of COVID? So I think that this kind of thinking among people, unfortunately, who are misled, is another big danger that this country faces.
Okay, fair enough. We've been joined by Dr. Vinayak Temburinekar. He represents the Ayurvedic doctors. He is from the National Integrated Medical Association, and he's been demanding, the association has been demanding that Ayurveda doctors be allowed to treat mild and moderate COVID patients. So we want to understand from you whether you agree. You've obviously seen Ramdev's stance. You've heard his video. What is your take on what he's saying?
Is it for me?
Yes.
Yeah. Basically, I have cleared in many newspapers as well as in media also that the doctors are a different thing and Baba Ramdev is a different thing. He is not a Ayurvedic doctor as such. And Baba Ramdev has done many good things in yoga. and he had started Ayurveda pharmacy, doing a good business. That is apart. But the language used by Baba Ramdev is not at all tolerable. You should not use. We are not with the language that he has used in this regard. There are many what you call as many things to discuss, but the language he has given in his speech or in that video. Basically, I have not gone through that video, but through media I came to know he has quoted. But we, the Ayurvedic doctors, all 8 lakh of Ayurvedic doctors pan India, we do not stand with this language or the content he has given.
तो डॉक्टर तैमूरकर आप लैंग्वेज की बात कर रहे हैं एंड वी कैन स्पीक इन एनी लैंग्वेज रियली आई डोंट हैव आई मीन वी कैन स्पीक इन हिंदी इफ यू लाइक लेकिन ये जो लैंग्वेज जिस तरह की बात कर रहे हैं पर सब्सटेंस का क्या ये उनका are you saying that you disagree with the language but you're okay with what he's saying that Ayurveda is that allopathy is a stupid science या ये मतलब ये substance
no नहीं
तो
हम लोग इससे इत्तेफाक नहीं रखते we do not agree with this that it is a stupid science. No, it is a good science. Allopathy साइंस है जैसे कि आयुर्वेद साइंस है वैसे एलोपैथी साइंस है और पूरे दुनिया में वर्ल्ड में एलोपैथी से ट्रीटमेंट होता है होता आया है और होता रहेगा. वी डू नॉट डिसएग्री विद दिस.
तो यहाँ पे यू नो इंडियन मेडिकल एसोसिएशन से विनय अग्रवाल जी डॉक्टर विनय अग्रवाल हैं. डॉक्टर विनय अग्रवाल कह रहे हैं कि बाबा रामदेव की जो कोरोनिल दवा है एंड दैट्स व्हाट यू नो दिलीप चरियन आल्सो सेड दैट ही इज बेसिकली अ बिजनेसमैन. ही इज ट्राइंग टू सेल कोरोनिल एंड ये बहुत सारे लोग ये कह रहे हैं. कोरोनिल के बारे में आपका क्या कहना है एज एन आयुर्वेदा डॉक्टर?
बेसिकली हमने से किसी ने भी कोरोनिल ना लिखा है ना रिकमेंड किया है. आपको अगर याद होगा तो कोरोनिल का जो स्टार्ट हुआ था उसका इनॉग्रेशन हुआ था वो तो हर्षवर्धन जी ने किया था और गवर्नमेंट ने उसको इंडोर्स भी किया था ऐसा बोला गया था. लेकिन बाद में ऐसा कहा कि ये इंडोर्स भी नहीं हुआ. लेकिन हमने किसी ने भी ये बेसिकली कैसा है देयर आर एन नंबर ऑफ फार्मेसीज इन आयुर्वेदा और कोई अपना प्रमोशन करता है तो इट्स देयर लुकआउट. हमने किसी ने भी कोरोना की दवा है ऐसा हमने कभी किसी भी आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर जो भी हमारे निमा मेंबर है उन्होंने नहीं कहा है.
तो आप कोरोनिल को नहीं मानते हैं बट डू यू बिलीव दैट आयुर्वेदा कैन क्योर कोविड? No, I think we've lost him. We'll come back to him. But I want to come to you, Dr. Vinay, about this, about what Dilip said. He said that, you know, it's that he's a businessman. He's just trying to sell Coronil. And you heard in the video also, he's talking about the changing treatment protocols of COVID. Hydrochloroquine, remdesivir, plasma therapy. Yes, it's correct that those treatment protocols are constantly changing. But it's also true that a lot of people are being cured through modern medicine, via modern medicine. Would you like to explain to our viewers कि ये जो बाबा रामदेव का कहना है ट्रीटमेंट प्रोटोकॉल्स को लेकर उसके बारे में और चेंजिंग प्रोटोकॉल्स के बारे में उसके बारे में would you like to clarify?
Aditi, I want to say two things here through your medium. Number one, that we are not against Ayurveda. We respect Ayurveda as an ancient science, as an ancient medicine. Number two is that we oppose and for a person who does not know anything about the other pathy, commenting about medicines, commenting about that procedures, and commenting about the treatment, and that also in a very ugly way. That was not a normal way of saying that we do not have this treatment, but saying and going ahead and criticizing each and every part of it. Mr. Dilip Bhai has said absolutely right this thing. It is not a small thing for him, for Baba Ramdev or Ramdev to say something and continuously saying that he has something behind it. I also want to take you again, Aditi, that coronal was started. As Dr. Parashar said, they are not endorsing coronal. This is what he said as an Ayurvedic doctor. But I just want to say, coronal was started as a drug for corona. It was taken back. It was started as WHO recognized drug. It was taken back. Then it became an immunity producer. That was okay. After that, there was an advertisement which came in newspaper to say, if you are afraid of jab, take coronal. Now that we opposed, and that advertisement was also again taken back. Now the third thing he realized, and he suddenly started criticizing steroids. He could not even name drug. He kept on saying things, and he had the full list of drugs, and he kept on saying. And then after that, he further said, इनके पास किडनी का इलाज नहीं है, इनके पास लीवर का इलाज नहीं है, इनके पास दिमाग का इलाज नहीं है, ये बुखार ठीक नहीं कर सकते, उसको उतार देते हैं. ये पैथी क्या है? ये मजाक है. Now these were the sentences which he used, which were absolutely derogatory. I will rather say, I agree with Mr. Dilip Bhai that derogatory is also a very, very mild word. It is something he should immediately be booked. He should be first arrested and then tried for it. If you start saying something at a time when there is a medical emergency going on, healthcare workers are fighting with the government in tackling the situation. We are shouldering the responsibility, and suddenly one person comes and says it is all wrong, it is all stupid, don't go by it. Now this is a kind of a thing which I personally feel it does not even need an investigation. He should be arrested first. The government should show some sensitivity towards the healthcare workers and say no nonsense will be tolerated. If the Prime Minister can come on the TV and say and bring tears in his eyes on the death of healthcare workers, he should have guts to say that this person who is talking nonsense is been arrested immediately and then tried. Now that is what I am just expressing the anguish and anger on behalf of all those healthcare workers. It is not a simple thing.
Right, I get your anger. I understand why you're angry, and so do many of the people who are watching this show. They are empathizing with you. But I want to just go back to Dr. Kamna Kakkar so that she can bring out that thing about what you said about having to deal with aggressive patients. Ramdev can just come and say that, okay, I said this, but it was a WhatsApp forward. Now I'm taking it back. Now I want to, but what about the actual things that you face in the COVID ward? You were talking about it, Dr. Kakkar. You even said, of own healthcare workers, you'll be standing in the front lines, standing in COVID ICUs. What would your advice to to Ramdev be as of now? Given the storm that he's created, and given the fact that he's a huge following, what should he be doing now? I mean, an apology is simply not enough, right? But what do you expect him to do now? We unmute Dr. Kakkar, please.
Yeah, so I want that he educates himself first. That is the first thing he should do. He should educate himself about what modern medicine actually is. He should try and understand that why the protocols have been changing, why guidelines have been changing. So if you have your guidelines changing, there's a reason behind it. When there's research going on about a certain thing, then when you have proof that something works, you adapt that thing into your guidelines. And if you have proof that a certain thing doesn't work, you kick it out of the guidelines. So this is something very, very normal that is expected out of medical research. So I don't understand why he uses words like Febiflu failed, Remdesivir failed, steroids failed. I don't know why he's using words like failed in front of drugs which have been working and which have not been working, both of them. So it's really sad, the way Ramdev has been vilifying our modern medicine. Basically, you can't.
Because it's a new disease, and so experimental drugs are going to be there. But as I said, those questions that he's asking about Remdesivir being removed from COVID treatment protocol, or the misuse of steroids, that's another dimension of it, which is also a reality as far as the battle against COVID is concerned. Dr. Vinay Agarwal, would you like to talk about that?
See, let me just tell you, it's a disease which in many centuries nobody saw that disease. Science is evolving, treatment is evolving from the government, from our institutions like ICMR, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and all our research institutions. The science is evolving, treatment is evolving. In the wave one, what was the treatment? In the wave two, they find that treatment may not be that effective, but newer things are coming. But we are little better off than what we were yesterday when the wave one. We had the gadgets, we have the now protective kits, we have the medicines, we now know the basic treatment. The government has issued proper guidelines of the type of treatment. Now, these are the guidelines issued by the government, which Baba Ramdev is criticizing one by one. Now, this is what we are objecting to. It is not that even if you take the drug like Remdesivir, government has not said no. They said it is not life-saving. It can only reduce the period. It can prolong the time period. They have also, and some of us have even understood it that because Remdesivir was short supply. So there are proper SOPs which are being given by the government. ICMR, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, COVID Task Force, and other institutions are giving us SOPs to medical professionals to treat accordingly. And let me tell you that wave second, the treatment is much more organized than what it was in the wave one. So saying one by one, saying that this entire thing is wrong, what is being done today, Aditi, may not be pertinent for tomorrow's treatment. So that is, science is evolving. But saying and criticizing what is being done, used today, and keep on saying that this is wrong, is something, going beyond. It is something like China coming out that what India is doing is absolutely wrong. It should not be done. Now, this is, I feel, this is something very, very, I don't know what word I should use, but I am, as Indian Medical Association, we feel so cheated out.
Let's get Dr. Vinayak Tembodikar to respond to that. Dr. Vinayak Tembodikar, would you like to respond to what is being said here?
Basically, I could not hear many things as there is some problem with my net. I could not hear many things.
I will sum it up for you. I will sum it up for you. What is being said here is that the irresponsible words of of Baba Ramdev are not, they are actually going to dissuade people from going to the hospital, seeking modern medicine, which is actually going to be life-saving, and which is what basically he's talking about, changing treatment protocols, sowing suspicion in the minds of people at a time of this pandemic is a great disservice. And that he is a businessman simply out for selling Coronil. By making such statements, he hopes to attract more clients for his own business.
बेसिकली बाबा जी जो करते हैं उनके बिजनेस के लिए वो उनका लुकआउट है, लेकिन ये भी उतना ही सही है कि जितने भी प्रोटोकॉल्स चेंज होते जा रहे हैं, पीपल आर गेटिंग कंफ्यूज विद दैट. लोगों को लगता है कि गवर्नमेंट के पास या ICMR के पास इसका कोई ये ही नहीं है. दे आर जस्ट चेंजिंग द प्रोटोकॉल्स. आज ये कारगर है ऐसा बोलते हैं, कल दे से दैट दिस इज नॉट वर्किंग. तो इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट शुड कम विद, गवर्नमेंट और ICMR और अथॉरिटी शुड कम इन फ्रंट ऑफ द पीपल, और उनको भरोसा देना चाहिए कि दीज थिंग्स आर चेंजिंग एज द virus is very new and the virus is also changing. That's why the protocol is also changing. And as doctor said, I could hear these things, that the things are what to call a research is going on daily basis, और नए चीजें वहां आ रहे हैं.
तो आपको क्या लगता है? Your organization has also said that Ayurvedic doctors should be brought in to treat moderate to mild COVID patients. Do you think that is going to happen? Do you think that COVID can be treated by Ayurveda? Sir, you are on mute. 1 second. Can somebody please unmute him? Yes, sir. Please speak. Sir, simple सवाल है, kya Ayurveda? Okay, he seems to be facing really connection issues, but I want to come to you, Dilip, now and ask you a very simple question. Two union ministers present at the ceremony where Ramdev lodged Coronil, where he swore that with you take Coronil and within 7 days your COVID will go away. Of course, later it was changed. And it was said, then people realized what's happening, and they said that that it's not a cure, it's just a sort of support drug, which is with Coronil. Now tell me, what is should if the government is not taking action against Baba Ramdev as of now, what is the message that we are sending out to the millions of followers that Ramdev has and enjoys?
Baba Ramdev's main partner fell ill a couple of years ago. He made sure that he was sent into AIIMS in Uttarakhand. That's point one. Point two, one of Ramdev's main manufacturing guys in charge of one product has passed away also in an allopathic hospital. So if Ramdev had any cure, or if Ramdev had any alternate to allopathy as a whole, or even allopathy for the kind of illnesses that strike those that are close to him, surely he would have worked his magic. So the fact is that here is a person who is merely using the ignorance of the masses and the fact that they believe him for something else to try and be a huckster for his own product. So the sad thing is that we have an inactive government that is attempting to placate him gently rather than, as the IMA representative said, throw him behind bars first and then let him explain in a court what he's trying to prove to the world and selling to the world.
All right. India's reputation as a pharma hub of the world is really already under question due to vaccine shortage in the country. India's COVID handling has also come under intense criticism globally. Now, under these circumstances, what kind of impact do you think Ramdev is going to be making on brand India?
My worry is that brand India is being tarnished by people who are being given protection and, in a sense, public sustenance by the presence of ministers at the wrong places. One. Two, I think the more important thing is that the kind of mismanagement of the macro environment in terms of managing the illness has made India a bit of a laughing stock in the world, though there are those who will justify that these numbers haven't been seen anywhere. But I think that the beacon of hope is in the way Bombay and the municipal commissioner has managed it. Medicines, oxygen, ICU beds, everything, and vaccination, all handled in a manner which makes people believe that when the right person is in charge, Indian medical system can in fact deliver and save lives at a scale that otherwise would have been a carnage in a city like Mumbai.
All right, fair enough. I want to play out because he might have taken back this statement, but Ramdev doesn't stop short of ridiculing doctors at every first opportunity. In fact, just today, there were some resident doctors who were playing out another video. They were on Twitter and they were posting these videos. I'd like my team to sort of see if they can play out this video for everyone to see, and then
बोला मुझे डॉक्टर बनना है, टर 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 करते रहते, टर बनना है, टर डॉक्टर 1000 डॉक्टर तो अभी कोरोना की डबल वैक्सीन लगाने के बाद मर गए। कल क्या समाचार है? कितने? 1000 डॉक्टर डबल वैक्सीन लगाने के बाद भी मर गए। अपने आप को ही नहीं बचा पाई, वो कैसी डॉक्टरी? तो मैंने कहा डॉक्टर बनना है तो स्वामी रामदेव जैसे।
So you see there, he is spreading things. He seems to be spreading things against the vaccine, once again ridiculing health workers. And I want to come to you, Dr. Manish Jangda. इसके बारे में आप क्या कहेंगे? Unmute, please.
Actually, I also got this video yesterday only. उसके बाद हमने इस वीडियो को देखा तो हमने ट्विटर पे हमारे काफी डॉक्टर्स ने इस वीडियो को शेयर किया, और ये वीडियो आप बिल्कुल देखेंगे तो कितना अमानवीय लग रहा है इस वीडियो को देख के आपको, कि जो लोग कोरोना वॉरियर हमारे शहीद हुए हैं उन लोगों की आत्माओं को शांति नहीं मिलेगी। ऐसे ऐसे लोग जब ऐसी बातें कर रहे हैं, और हमारे गवर्नमेंट के जो हेल्थ मिनिस्टर साहब हैं वो सिर्फ प्यार से एक प्रेम पत्र जैसा पत्र उनको भेज रहे हैं, और फिर वो प्यार से उनको एक रिप्लाई दे रहे हैं और कह रहे हैं कि मैं अपने शब्द वापस ले रहा हूँ। इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? मैं तो ये चाहता हूँ कि हमारी गवर्नमेंट को इस पे स्टैंड लेना चाहिए और इस पे स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शन लेने की जरूरत है। गवर्नमेंट को खुद हमसे बिना पूछे अपने डॉक्टर्स के लिए, अपने कोरोना वॉरियर्स के लिए स्टैंड लेना चाहिए। बाबा रामदेव ना तो BHMS है, ना BMS है, ना MBBS डॉक्टर है, तो वो कैसे आयुर्वेद को रिप्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं? हमारे नीमा के प्रेसिडेंट सर बैठे हुए हैं, सर से मेरी काफी बार बात भी हुई है। सर हमेशा बोलते रहते हैं कि वो हमारे आयुर्वेद को यूज करके एलोपैथी और आयुर्वेद के बीच हमेशा लड़ाई करवाते रहते हैं। उनको कोई हक नहीं है कोरोनिल के ऊपर रिसर्च करने का। वो किस बेस पे कोरोनिल के ऊपर रिसर्च कर रहे हैं जब वो किसी तरह के डॉक्टर ही नहीं है किसी पैथी के? और जो वो स्टेटमेंट दिन ब दिन देते जा रहे हैं, अभी उन्होंने ये स्टेटमेंट दी थी, 10 दिन पहले उन्होंने स्टेटमेंट दी थी कि जो आपके नाक है वो ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर है और आपको हॉस्पिटल में भागने की जरूरत नहीं है, आप हॉस्पिटल में क्यों भाग रहे हैं? अब आप एक बात बताइए, इतना बड़ा आदमी अगर ऐसी स्टेटमेंट दे रहा है और उसके इतने फॉलोवर हैं, हालांकि मेरे घर वाले भी उसके फॉलोवर है बाबा रामदेव के, तो वो लोग इन बातों से कितना मोटिवेट होते हैं कि बाबा रामदेव ने बोला है, हमें ये बात माननी है। और वही लोग हमारे डॉक्टर्स के साथ जो हमारे साथ जो पीटते हैं, जो हमारे साथ असोल्ट करते हैं, वो वही लोग होते हैं जो ऐसे बाबाओं की बातें सुन के डिस्करेज हो जाते हैं, और वो जब उनको इलाज की जरूरत पड़ती है तो वो हॉस्पिटल में जाना सही नहीं समझते, क्योंकि ऐसे बाबाओं ने उनके दिमाग में भर दिया है कि ये जो एलोपैथी के डॉक्टर है ये चोर है, ये एलोपैथी की साइंस है, बकवास है। जब ऐसी बात एक बड़ा आदमी एक बड़े प्लेटफॉर्म पे बोलता है तो वह कितनी गलत बात है। हमारी जो आम पब्लिक है मोस्टली इलिटरेट है, मैं ये नहीं कहूंगा सभी इलिटरेट है, बट मोस्टली लोग इनको फॉलो करते हैं, और वो लोग जब ऐसे बाबा की बात को सुन के, मैं बाबा नहीं कहूंगा, सेठ रामदेव जी कहूंगा, तो ये बहुत ही गलत बात है। मैं बिल्कुल हमारी फेमा डॉक्टर एसोसिएशन की तरफ से हम इनके ऊपर केस करने वाले हैं, बल्कि मैं तो ये कह रहा हूँ कि हमारी गवर्नमेंट को केस करना चाहिए ऐसे लोगों पर। एपिडेमिक एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग आप, और जो डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग आप ऐसी बातें कर रहे हैं, ऐसी बातें फैला रहे हैं समाज में, कितना बड़ा नुकसान होगा इस बात का। गवर्नमेंट को सोचना चाहिए। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी इनको सपोर्ट करते हैं, हमारे हर्षवर्धन सर इनको सपोर्ट करते हैं, कोरोनिल को प्रमोट करते हैं वहां जाके, कितनी गलत बात है। हमारी गवर्नमेंट का हाथ इनके ऊपर है, तो अब आप बताइए तो कैसे हम इनके अगेंस्ट बोल सकते हैं? कितनी बुरी बात है। लेकिन हमारा स्टैंड, हमारी जो सीनियर डॉक्टर अग्रवाल सर है उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा बोला, IMA का और फाइमा का स्टैंड हमेशा यही रहेगा कि हम बाबा रामदेव को बिल्कुल अरेस्ट करा के रहेंगे, हम इस बार बिल्कुल नहीं छोड़ेंगे, लास्ट तक लड़ते रहेंगे। और दूसरी बात, हमारे जो बाकी डॉक्टर है जो शहीद हुए इस कोरोना में, मैं खुद कहूंगा जब ये लेट कर बाबा रामदेव ने जो स्टेटमेंट दी है, कितनी गलत स्टेटमेंट दी। आप खुद सोचिए, एक कितना अमानवीय लगता है ऐसा बोलना कि 1000 डॉक्टर मर गए हैं और अपने खुद को नहीं बचा पाए हैं। मतलब ऐसे जो वर्ड यूज कर रहे हैं, कितना बुरा लगता है ये बात। हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री को अपना स्टैंड क्लियर करना चाहिए। हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री को जो ये पत्थर भेजने वाला जो सिस्टम चल रहा है, इसको बंद करके एक स्ट्रिक्ट एक्शन लेने की जरूरत है। हमारे जो हेल्थ मिनिस्टर है डॉक्टर हर्षवर्धन जी, वो सिर्फ सबसे बना के चलना चाहते हैं कि बाबा रामदेव जी से भी बनानी है, मुझे डॉक्टर से भी बनानी है। ऐसे भी इतना कहना चाहता हूँ, हमारे हेल्थ मिनिस्टर को जो चीज गलत है उसके अगेंस्ट स्टैंड लेना चाहिए। अगर ये चीज सही है तो हम भी बिल्कुल सपोर्ट करेंगे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है इसमें। हमने कभी आयुर्वेद के खिलाफ कभी नहीं बोला है। हमने जब भी मिक्सोपैथी की फाइट की है उसमें सिर्फ हमने इतना बोला है कि आयुर्वेद को आयुर्वेद की प्रैक्टिस करनी चाहिए, एलोपैथी को एलोपैथी की प्रैक्टिस करनी चाहिए। बट ये बाबा दोनों विधाओं में घुसने की कोशिश कर रहा है, ये एलोपैथ में भी घुस रहा है, आयुर्वेद में भी घुस रहा है। 10 दिन पहले की बात बताता हूँ, मेरे एक सीनियर थे, उनके पास एक पेशेंट का मैसेज आया कि वो दिव्य किट ले रहे हैं जिसमें नीला तोता मिलता है। आपको मैं बता दूं, नीला तोता बहुत सारे दिव्य किट के इनके प्रोडक्ट्स में मिलता है जो हेपेटाइटिस कराता है, और उस पेशेंट का बिलीरुबिन 7.1 था। और जब हमारे उस सीनियर ने, डॉक्टर जितेंद्र शेखावत के वो सफदरजंग से, उन्होंने जब उनको बंद करने के लिए बोला, तब पेशेंट ने उसको बंद किया, तो तब जाके उनका बिलीरुबिन 1.5 आया 1 महीने में। सोचिए इनके प्रोडक्ट कितने, मतलब मैं बताऊं, अगर हम ढंग से इनके प्रोडक्ट में इंक्वायरी बिठाई जाए तो इनके कितने प्रोडक्ट को हम बिल्कुल एक्सपोज कर सकते हैं। ये बाबा रामदेव जी ने इतना कॉम्प्लिकेशन करके हमारे पास पेशेंट लास्ट में आता है, फिर नाम बदनाम डॉक्टर का होता है, एलोपैथ के डॉक्टर का, लेकिन काम खराब ये लोग करते हैं। और मैं बता रहा हूँ कि आयुर्वेद की मैं इसमें कोई गलती नहीं बता रहा हूँ, ये बस आयुर्वेद के ठेकेदार बन चुके हैं बाबा रामदेव। हमारे जो नीमा के प्रेसिडेंट बैठे हैं सर, वो खुद
I want to take. I'm sorry, I'll interrupt you. I want to go to Dr. Temburnikar. Is he there?
Yeah.
Sir, what is your stand on this, sir? What he's saying, what Dr. Jonga is saying, वो ये कह रहे हैं कि हम दोनों this COVID fight, it's a huge fight. It's a big fight that we have in front. You have also offered that mild to moderate COVID cases, Ayurvedic doctors can get in and treat them. In our country, for hundreds of years, modern medicine and alternative medicine has coexisted. Is this the time for allopathy versus Ayurveda? Do you feel that Baba Ramdev is pitting allopathy versus Ayurveda now? And do you agree with his comments?
बेसिकली पहले तो मैं थोड़ा क्षमा प्रार्थी हूँ कि मेरी नेट ठीक ना रहने की वजह से आई कुड नॉट कनेक्ट विथ ऑल ऑफ यू प्रॉपरली। दूसरा ऐसा है कि मनीष जी ने जो कहा है कि आज जो भी रामदेव जी बाबा ने कहा है या फिर उसका, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि गवर्नमेंट विल टेक एक्शन ऑन इट, और जो भी धाराएं हैं वो धाराएं, लॉ, कानून जो है अपना काम करेगा। कानून को अपना काम सही तरीके से करना ये मैं यहाँ कह सकता हूँ। अगर बाबा रामदेव गिल्टी है तो उनको उसकी सजा मिलनी चाहिए, अगर नहीं है तो वो उसका कानून काम करेगा। लेकिन आज के सिनेरियो में मैं, जैसे कि मनीष जी ने कहा है कि कोविड एक बड़ी फाइट है, और कोविड जो बड़ी फाइट है वो हम सब लोगों को मिलके हाथ हैंड इन हैंड करना चाहिए उसको। हमने माइल्ड टू मॉडरेट केसेस के लिए गवर्नमेंट से कहा, हम ये नहीं कहते कि हम सीरियस केसेस हैंडल करेंगे या हम लोग कहीं का वेंटिलेटर को कोई अल्टरनेटिव देंगे या कोई इसको जो भी ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई पे लोग हैं उनको हम ये करेंगे। लेकिन जो भी माइल्ड टू मॉडरेट केसेस हैं वो हम लोग अच्छी तरह से हैंडल कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि जैसे आपको पता है कि आज तक कोरोना पे कोई कारगर दलील नहीं है जो पॉइंट कह सके कि इससे कोरोना जाता है या निगेटिव हो जाता है। लेकिन जो भी ट्रीटमेंट है वो सप्लीमेंट्री ट्रीटमेंट है, वो सिम्पटोमेटिक ट्रीटमेंट हम लोग है। और दूसरी बात ऐसी है कि बहुत से जो स्टेट्स है उसमें आयुर्वेद के साथ एलोपैथी की परमिशन इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मेडिसिन के डॉक्टर्स को मिल चुकी है, जैसे कि महाराष्ट्र में है, उत्तर प्रदेश में है, हरियाणा में है, और बहुत से राज्यों में जो भी कोविड सेंटर्स है वो कोविड सेंटर्स हो, डेडिकेटेड कोविड सेंटर्स हो, वहाँ हमारे डॉक्टर डेप्यूट है। आज मैं जिस सोलापुर से आता हूँ वहाँ कारपोरेशन के जितने भी कोविड सेंटर चल रहे हैं ऑल आर रन बाय बीएमएस पीपल, ऑल आर रन बाय बीएमएस पीपल। वो भी अच्छी तरह से इंटीग्रेशन का काम करते हैं, कोई इसे मिक्सोपैथिक है या कुछ है, लेकिन वी से दैट इट इज इंटीग्रेशन, और इंटीग्रेशन इज अलाउड, और पूरी दुनिया इंटीग्रेशन की तरफ जा रही है। तो आज की इस विपदा में एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है हम लोगों को कि हमारा जो भी साइंस है वो सबको इंटीग्रेट करके हैंड इन हैंड अगर हम इसका इलाज करते जाएंगे।
Dr. Vinay Agarwal, do you concur that there should be an integrated approach to tackle COVID?
देखिए, as Dr. Saab has said, I mean, I think Indian Medical Association is very clear on few issues. I'm saying that wherever required, if any person can be useful in, or any pathy or any science can be useful in this medical emergency, should be make proper use. But there should be processes made. There should be a policy should be made. But unnecessarily, I mean, in just a haphazard way, asking something to be done in some way is not correct. Indian Medical Association has always been asking, and as a policy, we are saying that number one, that Ayurveda has a place. I am not saying it has no place. Ayurveda is a science. It's a age-old science. We all of us has taken a lot from Ayurveda. Only thing is, it should not happen that by doing this kind of a integration or allowing them to mix pathy, their old science, the oldest possible science, a science which has taught everybody of us, should not go to drains. This thing is that their sanctity should be preserved. Sanctity of allopathy should also be preserved, and wherever both the pathies can be utilized, they should be utilized. But there should not be a mixing of both the things, that somebody is allowed to use some other medicines and somebody used to allow some other medicine, that basically we are as Indian Medical Association against, because it may be harmful to the citizens of this country, rather harmful to that pathy itself. As I agree with Dr. Parashar that, Ayurveda has its own this thing, but most of the Ayurvedic doctors, if they are working in institutions where, so they are forgetting their own pathy, and that is why Ayurveda should have grown much larger way. Rather, we request the government to develop institutes for research institutes and other, so that this pathy also prosper. And they should also, let me tell you, my my mother, has always been giving me all those things, and I still take. I use haldi, I use doodh, I use tulsi, I use those things. So they are household things. Nobody can decry that. They should also have a place wherever it is required.
Okay, that's fair enough. And doctor, our expert, our Ayurveda expert, the Nima sort of person, he himself has said that he does not believe in coronal, because in any case we all know that coronal, from what I've read and what studies have been produced, coronal has really been checked or tried. The trial of coronal was done on a group of about 100 COVID patients, apparently with very mild symptoms. Now, of course, experts have warned that it is very difficult to draw a conclusion from that, and which is possibly from being called a cure. Now it's basically a sort of coronal has now been called a support, for COVID treatment, a support medicine. Now, and as everyone seems to be in concurrence that this is not the time for allopathy versus Ayurveda. Dr. Vinay has said himself that you're happy. Both of them have their own places, and which I think is a very valid statement, because all of us in our houses, we grew up with a lot of little Ayurvedic cures. But as far as such a pandemic is concerned, and a disease such as COVID is concerned, which we're still trying to understand, grapple, come to grips with, this is not the time for allopathy versus Ayurveda. Obviously, allopathy is the way to go as far as severe COVID-19 patients are concerned, people who are infected severely, people who need oxygen, people who have comorbidities. Ayurveda cannot solve those problems with its medicines. This is not, but as I said, Ramdev is coming in between, and he has created a sort of allopathy versus Ayurveda divide. But from what I understand from our doctors here, that there is no such divide on the ground, but the government should come out with there should be a sort of a guideline to for treatment, and the government needs to come out with that guideline. And I'll take your last thoughts, on this, Dilip, if you will. Shouldn't the government be figuring out a middle path and actually putting out a guideline for COVID treatment as far as Ayurveda is concerned?
I think there is a path which is to do with enhancing of your immunity. That is somewhere where Ayurveda has a role. But the moment COVID strikes, it is a serious illness, and except for those who are either asymptomatic or really mild, I think that if you try and mix the pathies, then you will be in an even more pathetic state than we are already in. There's a danger in this. Allopathy has certain protocols, certain scientific rigor, which has taken the disease into a direction where it can be managed. Yes, lives have been lost, methods have been changed, new research has come through, but I think the place for Ayurveda is in terms of building up a human's immunity, which has to happen before the illness strikes. If that is the kind of division that is being talked about, I'm open to that. But I think that if we want to confuse people or create a misinterpretation of what the possibilities are, then we can talk about a middle path or a third path. I don't think a third path actually exists.
which is exactly what is happening. There is a lot of confusion in the minds of people because we do not have a direction in which we are going. There is, in our country, for hundreds of years, Ayurveda has been a part of lives for many households, and therefore they feel that Ayurveda can cure things. But with a disease such as COVID, with it's actually things which even allopathic doctors and modern medicine is learning new things about every second day, and it has already led to over 3 lakh deaths in the country alone, which is really the third highest anywhere in the world. After the US and Brazil, we top the list of deaths in the country. So we need to be very, very careful, and we need to obviously steer clear of anybody trying to tell us that please do not go to a doctor, please do not visit the hospital, because doctors are quote unquote medicines are failing, modern medicine, allopathic medicines are failing. Now that is not what we want to hear at this point in time. And yes, the government must take a stand. There is an epidemic act in place. If nothing, there needs to be, and of course the Indian Medical Association has said today on our show that they are not going to let this die. They're going to keep up the pressure on the government and on Ramdev of Patanjali. So thank you so much for joining us for this broadcast. Thank you, viewers, for watching this. Thanks to our guests for giving us this much time. And we'll keep coming back to you with more. Stay tuned to Hindustan Times.
Thank you.
Thank you.